Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm going to let that song play for a bit. Don't you just like it? Jones Medal. It's called Union, the song. And welcome to the program tonight or today. Time check here in China. It is 6:37. And of course, we got AJ sitting backstage ready to come onto the program. Just want to thank everyone for joining today. And as you know, we have a lot going on today, a lot to cover. And it's the 20th CPC National Congress that's going on here in China all week and commences on the 23rd. We've been having coverage all week at approximately 9 a.m. Beijing time. Well, I just want to welcome a few people to the program today. Hi, Ken. Thank you for supporting the show. And of course, Quantum, good morning to you. I think you're in Germany there. And MP, thank you very much. And of course, Hang is here. And the PTE audience is also joined in. So, wow, we got a lot to uncover on the program today. But without further ado, I'll bring on AJ. AJ, welcome to the program. How are you?
Hey, Alex. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks. I'm doing good. Hope everyone else is doing good as well. Yeah, weather's in England, it's raining. I think it's starting to get very cold now. Things are not looking good. There's a lot of articles coming out in UK. Apparently, do you remember that 300 billion or something that Liz
Yeah,
Truss was supposed to
yeah,
help with the cost of living? Well, guess what? They've done a new calculation, and looks like that that cost is going to run out by next April. So next April, the bills are going to double again for everyone.
What I'm going to do, AJ, is just so I don't know if we hear a bit of cutting out on your audio. What you can do is just refresh your screen while we're at it, and we'll try to clear up your audio. I'll go to full screen here, and you can just drop back into the studio, and we'll try to get your audio cleared up for you. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I'll let you do that, and see you in a minute. Okay, so we got a lot to uncover this week. Of course, pardon me, today, lots of headlines coming out. Shocking headlines coming out of the United Kingdom here with the government. And of course, AJ is going to cover that. I'm back in the iChongqing office here and getting so excited about this new studio that we're putting together for the weekend show, the Let's Talk China show. Can't wait to roll that out. Wow, it's going to be very exciting. And we'll come up with a really cool time spot that fits everyone to a T, we'll call it. Okay. Kevin, thank you for joining the program. Speaking of raining, it's raining in New Zealand. Sorry to hear that. If you're in Chongqing today, a nice, beautiful 27 degrees outside. We're going to bring AJ back on and we'll check his audio. Should be pretty good now. How we doing, AJ? You good?
Hello?
Yeah, sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
All right. So, AJ, you happen to be in one of the most interesting countries right now. I have not seen 3 replaced prime ministers in under 6 months, but we might be embarking on that. Let's start talking with a little bit of UK stuff first. Then we'll head over into some of the really interesting updates that I've been going through here in China. And, you know, this is the first year that I've really got involved with this Congress that's going on here, and it is covering a lot of things. And today we're going to talk about some of the highlights from the event because we're here on a Thursday already. We've already gone through a lot of things, but I'm going to give you the floor for a second to update us on the UK. What on earth is going on in the United Kingdom? Tell me, AJ, tell me.
Yes, so it's a lot of stuff that's happening. So they are trying to get rid of Liz Truss. The Tories are trying. Unfortunately, they're stuck in some legislation, which means that they cannot get rid of somebody with a no confidence vote after a year of service. So they're trying to get her to quit, but she says she does not want to quit. So they're trying to find ways to get rid of her. So far they have failed. She had Priti Patel's sister leaving the job this morning or last night. And I say Priti Patel's sister, it's not her real sister. She just looks like her. And she has the same policies, like sending people to Rwanda and things like that. So all the media and everyone's calling her Priti Patel's sister. It's
Oh
basically
my.
She looks exactly like her as well. I'm not joking. It's absolutely hilarious. So she left. She left the job yesterday.
Okay.
Um,
So resigned, right? Basically
she's
resigned.
resigned. Yeah. So
Oh boy.
I
Oh
don't think
boy.
Truss has got anybody left. She hired anymore. I think she's on her own. But the thing about Liz Truss, you have to understand that she's being paid by a lot of these neocons, military industrial complexes,
Right.
and there's some stories coming out that Liz Truss was actually is part of a big club in Mayfair. And Mayfair
Hmm.
is a very rich area full of bankers and oil barons. And she's been holding meetings in this club in Mayfair
Right.
for just before she became a prime minister, and apparently she's getting a lot of funding from all of these bankers and oil barons and rich people. And this is why, you know, her when she came into power, she decided to get rid of all the bankers' bonuses. She's taking all these tax cuts for the rich and doing all of the policies. And this story is basically being circulated everywhere now, and basically she is under their thumb, and so she does not want to quit, because the longer she stays in power, the more money she makes. She's also getting paid by the Israeli lobby as well, the military industrial complex, the WEF as well. So she's got a lot of money coming in, so it's in her interest to stay in the job as long as possible. So that's what
Mm.
she's doing. So she is putting up a good fight at the moment. And the problem with the Tories, they don't have a replacement. Rishi Sunak has said privately to a number of people that he does not want the job, because he
Really?
realizes, yeah, he realizes that this job is like a
Kiss
poison
of death.
chalice. Yeah, it's a kiss of death.
Jeez.
So now the Tories are looking at new people to take over the job, and one of
Right.
the
Okay.
people they want to give the job to is Ben Wallace. And I don't know if you know Ben Wallace, but he got scammed by a couple of Russian guys,
Hmm.
and he was giving away UK secrets and things like that. He's probably going to be even worse than this trust, to be honest. That guy doesn't know his foot from his toe. And then you have the her current chancellor, Mr.
Right.
Hunt, and
Right.
Mr. Hunt
The
actually
her second
her
chancellor,
second chancellor. Yeah,
or
Mr.
ex
Hunt is a
exchequer.
yeah, exactly. And Mr. Hunt was responsible for destroying the NHS, and he is the
Mm.
sole guy who is responsible for that. And all of his policies, all of the policies that Liz Truss is currently doing used to be Hunt's policies as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, so people are saying he's a disaster as well. So the thing is, Tories don't really have much options. They might end up sticking with Liz Truss because they don't have any viable options anymore. But if Liz
Wow.
Truss continues to do a really bad job, it's all about the markets, Alex. If the pound
Mm.
collapses
Yeah.
even more, or if shares and stocks collapse in UK even more, interest rates keep going up, then she will have to go, because the people who actually put her in the job, they're the ones with the real power. They will get her out
Mm.
somehow. And
I'm just going to go over a couple of. Let's go over a couple of the headlines here. We got the UK headline up from the Guardian: Truss faces Tory unrest over toxic budget cuts. I'm hearing, and maybe you can confirm this, that she's got hours, not days. I don't know if there's any that speculation that has been speculated in a couple of posts that have been on the Twitter feed trending as we speak on that. Let's move forward and see the front page
yeah,
of the next. This is French. Et maintenant. Et
sure.
maintenant means what next or what now in French and to English language, basically what now. That is the front headline page in the Courrier Picard. And they're going into detail talking about the French strikes that are going on. I'm not sure if the audience is aware of the fuel shortage is going on in France right now, but 1 in 3 gas stations have run out of fuel. That's 33 gas stations. I had a friend give us a call from the south of France near Monaco, Nice, Menton area. And apparently they had to drive over an hour and wait 2 hours to gas up their cars. That really nice new gas prices down there, stuff that I never thought would be in my lifetime. Let's keep moving on to another newspaper here, and just to see, it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see
The,
here as
the
we see. Go ahead,
yeah, the
AJ.
problem is they can't get rid of her now because they don't have a replacement lined up,
Right.
and also the markets have just stabilized as well. So and the problem is the markets kind of tell you everything. If the markets have stabilized, they're not going to make any change. And also, if you make a change now,
Mm-hmm.
the public and the oppositions will ask for a general election. And if they're forced to do a general election, they're saying that Tories will lose all their seats. They will only have 3 seats out of 350 or something. They will lose over 300 seats. So they do not want general elections. So they're caught. They're stuck at the moment. So I think at the moment Liz Truss is going to stay in her job. I mean, I work in the IT sector. Normally,
Mm-hmm.
when someone's leaving, they make a lot of noises. People's accounts get blocked, and letters get circulated around the IT sector. None of that's happened yet. So
Okay, so
I don't
coming
think it's
from
going
AJ, you're confirming she's not going anywhere. And you know what? I'm going to go with you on this one because some of
yeah,
your
I don't think.
calls have been
Yeah,
completely
I mean
right.
things might change last minute. You never know.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think she's leaving in the next few hours. I think maybe
Okay.
maybe they'll probably give her till next week. Maybe I'm
We're
saying.
just seeing some people comment on the French news. France, whoa. Oh, bonjour, ça va, bien merci. Some more time. Okay, so let's just say May through September, beloved. Okay, good. I'm just reading one of my colleagues' comments here. Okay, let's look at the West Australian. Okay, must read exclusive. Acts for the bad cops. Now, I was waiting for this article to actually come out, and this is interesting. I want to compare this to what we heard in the Congress yesterday in China here. There was a special kind of news briefings, 2 news briefings, one starting at 10 a.m., one at 3 p.m. A lot of news coming out from a country of 1.5 billion. And they were talking about how they are upgrading laws, they're upgrading court systems, they're upgrading civil courts, upgrading criminal courts, also equipping police officers with more cameras, not only to be transparent, but also to the public, to give the public faith that this kind of stuff is being recorded. Of course, in the United States, one of the most criminalized countries in the world, you can only wish to have certain interactions recorded on camera, not to be lost in case you have a case against the police. I really admired the conversation that they were having about that, going into detail. And also, they were talking that U.S. companies are using a lot of Chinese courts now to fight their intellectual property. So that is one thing that I never have read. But this one here in Australia, where it says acts for bad cops, we have to remember a lot of the police brutality that was going on in Australia during these horrific lockdowns. We're not talking lockdowns using contact tracing apps or COVID dynamic COVID policies here. We're talking total lockdown, and they got the batons out and beat people. Well, these are now going through the courts in the Australia, and as well going through the Canadian courts. We are seeing hundreds and hundreds of these cases going through the Canadian courts where people have been unjustly arrested, charged, fined. There were fines into the tens of thousands of dollars with people refusing to close businesses. I'm not sure what way our audience feels about that. But anyway, there is protocol, there is laws, and there are rights for people in certain countries. And obviously, very clearly here, it hasn't been followed. And got to remember, Australia was one of the only countries in the world that blocked its own citizens from getting back here. This is the Russian newspaper. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of the headlines on that. I should have brought my wife on here. She could have translated that very easy for us. I was supposed to call her before the show to get the translation on that one, but just wanted to tell you about that. China Daily's talking about the China Path gives world a new choice. And it also is talking about Xi emphasizes on development, security, allowed it overseas as well. And we will get to the overseas comment because you got to tell us something about what some serious event that happened there. I believe it was in London yesterday. We'll get to that in a second, okay, AJ?
Yeah.
What would signal an invasion of Taiwan? Of course, the drums start beating in Japan. Why wouldn't they beat in Japan when you have 77,000 American troops, I believe, or I don't know how many thousands of troops are still based in Japan. It's into the tens of thousands, and maybe you guys can tell us in the comment.
50,000 US troops.
Mind-blowing. In one of their 800 outside of their country military bases. Okay, well that's that. Let's before we forget, let's talk about what happened in the UK yesterday. I know you did a video on your channel about this. Can you tell the audience about this? About happened in the I believe it was
did a video
consulate
about this.
or
So
embassy.
I mean, this is major news in the UK at the moment. Every single article is covering it. There's news conferences happening everywhere. They're asking for these Chinese diplomats to be kicked out of the country. They're asking to close the embassy as well. So a lot of shit's been going down, and basically they are putting these Hong Kong rioters in a really good light. It's almost like they can't do any wrong. And I did a video yesterday where it was full of double standards. So if you have Palestinians going outside the Israeli embassy, for example, which I showed a clip about in the video as well, these Palestinian people who demonstrate outside the Israeli embassy get arrested right away. And I showed a clip where a Palestinian guy, all he was doing was holding a flag, but he gets arrested and he gets put into prison. But when these Hong Kongers do it outside the Chinese embassy, they're called as freedom fighters and stuff. And I was showing the clip where these Hong Kongers were blocking the road and they were abusing these security guards outside the embassy. There was a young Asian woman and an Asian man, I think it was an Indian man, and they were abusing her. They were saying "F your mother" and all of these swear words to the girl, and they were really being abusive. And this was all on video. And the BBC has got hold of this video. The Sky News has got hold of this video. They wouldn't show any of this. And the most important thing was this video showed that the embassy guy who works at the embassy, he was the one that got beaten up first. He got pulled out of the embassy. And he was being kicked to the head, literally being kicked to the head. And when you get kicked to the head, obviously you could die, you could have brain damage, and all sorts of stuff. And he was brutally getting kicked to the head. And the Hong Kong guy who was being pulled into the embassy, he actually went in. He was on the other side of the road. He ran from the other side of the road into the embassy, and he was trying to go in and the embassy staff, it looks like they were trying to protect themselves. They were trying to protect their staff. They were trying to protect themselves. And this Hong Kong guy comes out with a couple of bruises in his face. He didn't get kicked to the head or anything serious like the consulate guy. And this guy gets put into ultimate stardom. And now he's going around UK. He's giving interviews to all of the major papers. I saw one interview today in The Guardian, and he's giving interviews to BBC. He's making loads of money. He's really exaggerating. One interview, he was saying, "I was scared for my life. I thought I was gonna die." I mean, come on, he was just exaggerating. He's got one little bruise in his nose, and that was it. And the whole media, UK media, is giving him so much publicity. Then you have this guy called Ian Duncan Smith, who's been blacklisted, sanctioned by the Chinese government. Anytime there's something to do with China, he comes out of the woodwork. It's just really funny. He comes out of the woodwork. He doesn't do anything else. Anything bad about China, he'll come out. He'll start speaking his speech.
I'm just curious if there was any of them holding umbrellas, because that would have definitely solidified, their behavior.
The fact is, all these papers are not reporting that these Hong Kongers were the first ones to actually start abusing staff. They were the ones that were, and this is on camera. They wouldn't. They're not going to mention anything like that. They were the one that was being abusive. They were ones that were being aggressive. They were the ones that were provoking all of this. They're not going to
Now,
mention any of that.
to add a little bit of sarcasm to this, do you think these were people that had migrated from Hong Kong into the United Kingdom recently?
I know for a fact that there are at least, I think I saw some figures. There were about 140,000 Hong Kongers came to UK with that visa. But I don't know how many of them have gone back. I know a lot of them have gone back actually.
Right. So maybe
But
maybe they were upset that they did the exchange rate and lost 20% of their value of their
yeah,
currency in the
exactly.
last year. So now
Yeah,
now that's what they're really upset about, not the
yeah. Well,
actual.
exactly. Well, as I live in Manchester, and they're always demonstrating in Manchester. And sometimes
Mhm.
I get hold of a few of them and ask them questions. And one of the questions I ask is, how many have come here? How many have gone back? And can you physically go back because of the weak pound and everything? And I get the same answer from all of them. They said, "Oh, we can't go back because we sold everything in Hong Kong. We came here and we basically started a new life." And also the fact that the pound is now so much lower in value compared to the Hong Kong dollar that they have lost a lot of money. Yeah, like you said, if you bring in, say, 100,000 from Hong Kong, you will lose
Mhm.
20% of that.
I
If you bring 500,000, you will lose 20% of that. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of
right.
money that
My
lost.
comment on this whole situation is, first of all, if you're traveling in Europe, and let me just give the audience a little bit of my experience. Um, if you stood out front of even an embassy of the United States, which I did one time, and even took a picture, just taking a photo, I did that in Macedonia. I was basically chased innocently. I didn't, had no intentions. I just wanted. I thought, wow, what a massive, what a massive embassy United
Yeah.
States has in a country like Macedonia.
Mhm.
Wink, wink. What were they doing there? And that irritated people. But now you have people that went inside the gate of an
Yeah.
embassy, of a
Yeah.
Chinese embassy. They're worried about a bruise. I would be more concerned about bullet holes because you can't do that. I don't think anywhere in the world except
No.
you're risking your life. And the way the footage, from what I saw quite a
Mm.
few angles. We went over there this yesterday with Fernando, point by point by point. I mean, first of all, you have to apply to protest. Okay, you do. It's just it's a formality, but
Yeah.
they won't stop it. Is my understanding. Who are you? What are you doing there? And there's a lot of good examples. Recently, even an Australian guy was arrested for doing some, you know, really strange things outside of that embassy. And are they on high alert? You bet they're on high alert. Um, do they have all rights to protect the embassy at any cost? Absolutely. I mean, look, all you have to do is look at what's going around the world, and embassies are targets all over the world. This is just insanity. Now, the newspapers, of course, are going to play this up. Oh, and guess what? This will get buried in the headlines when it gets figured out, and these guys get charged. They should be charged. They should have actually been arrested
Well, the
and
people
arrested
who
on
have been, yeah,
Chinese law. Chinese law, I think,
yeah,
should
yeah.
have.
Well, the people who are looking to get charged are the consulate staff, and the British government is saying they're gonna kind of kick them out. But you're right. If you're stepping inside a consulate, you are stepping into another country. It's like going into China with no visa. You will
Mhm.
immediately get arrested on the borders, and you'll be sent to jail for trespassing for a long time. And this is exactly what's happened. And I'm just shocked by the fact that they are making the Chinese look like bad guys, and they're making these Hong Kong protesters look like good guys. And in my video I showed yesterday, it shows clearly it's these Hong Kong protesters who are being abusive. They're going around swearing, abusing, um, shouting, real filth to embassy staff, to people who are working there, and not then these are not Chinese staff. These are
Hmm.
ordinary citizens of UK. This was a woman, a Muslim woman wearing a hijab. This was an Indian guy who was working outside the gates. They were being abused. They were being shouted at. Um, and the fact that this is all on camera, but none of the
Hmm.
media is picking up on it. All of this media is when you work for a media company or you are a journalist, you have a job to be impartial. You have to basically, your job is to be impartial and
True.
give both sides of the story and let the audience decide what's right, what's wrong. So you just give the facts. But the fact that all of
Hmm.
these media outlets are basically making out this Hong Kong guy to be some sort of hero, and none of them are spreading facts. They're just spreading that little clip that you saw where he's inside the gates, but they don't show anything else outside of that. They don't show how they provoked all of this incidents. They don't show how they pulled out a consulate guy and kicked him to the head. They don't show any of that. I just think it's absolute double standards. And if you
Yeah,
do that outside the American embassy, you will get shot. You know,
of
I
course.
I, I have
Of course.
in the London American embassy, there was an incident where some Iraqis were basically outside demonstrating, but this was due to the Iraq war, and they got shot. There was one Iraqi guy that actually got shot, and the rest of them got arrested. And they don't mess around. If you mess around outside an embassy, you will literally get your ass blown off. But if America does it, then it's fine. But if China does it, oh no, the end of the world. The Chinese have come. But if the Americans do it, oh, it's all right. Let them do it. If the Israelis do it, it's not a problem. It's
This is the
unbelievable.
change that we're going through here. And this is why we're bringing back the Let's Talk China show. We're launching it. Of course, it's going to cover many topics, and we're going to have many guests on this show. But somebody's got to speak out here, and somebody has to defend this country. That's why we started that show years ago. And we've had tremendous support here locally with the group that I do collaborations with. They've been absolutely supportive on the vision, and we want to get that voice out there. We want Chinese nationals that are all over the world. There's many of them all over the world outside of China that we will be the voice for you. We will give you that platform. And, as we see other platforms trying to crush, silence, there are other new platforms that are coming out that are very effective. Rumble is starting to get a lot of exposure. It's nice to see Elon Musk has taken, for most part, an interest in acquiring Twitter. I think we're going to get around that corner here. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of hard work. 2.5 years of my life have been dedicated here to get the message out for China, whether it's through videos, whether it's through talking with people, whether it's through doing live streams, of course, with you greatly, is helpful with your audience as well. But it's this type of determination that it's going to need that. It's going to need us. It's going to need our people that are in the comment section to get that voice out, because what is happening is wrong. It's wrong on many levels. It's wrong on the diplomacy level. And here's a country that hasn't been involved in a war since I've pretty much been born. I think maybe one, and I've been on the earth for a little bit, but it hasn't been confrontational. It usually goes down the diplomatic channels, but it's these media engines, and you've just again exposed another story here that it's very clear. If a person sits down and watches that video, what happened, we know who is in the wrong. And it's amazing that even the BBC is allowed to operate inside China here. And some of the reporting here is just diabolical. And that's a compliment. And it comes down to integrity. When I get people saying, go show this, Alex, go show that, Alex. Well, for most part, I do that. But if I had the budget of the BBC, I would be everywhere, not just trying to, find a dark back alley and do some reporting with the BBC filter. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway,
The
go on.
BBC guys have been kicked out of China from last I heard. I
Not
think
all
they
of them.
work.
Not all of them. Not
No,
all of them. Nope. 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 There's
the
still
main,
some.
I think it's
There's
John
still some
Sudworth. I
around.
think he works out
Yeah,
of
he's gone.
Taiwan now. Yeah, he's gone. So.
He's in the province of Taiwan.
Yeah. I just got some breaking news, Alex, and for
Tell
the
me. Tell me.
viewers.
Tell me.
Looks like Liz Truss has been called into a meeting with the 1922 committee,
Oh boy.
and what this
Um.
means, the
What?
1922. Yeah,
Can I
what?
interrupt you?
Yeah,
What? Who's reporting that?
this is coming out of the BBC. So it looks like it is true. The 1922 committee is basically they're the ones that set all the rules, and they have set the rules that the prime
Mm-hmm.
minister cannot leave within a year of
Okay.
coming into office. So the fact that she's been called into this 1922 committee means that they are looking to change the rules, or they are looking to go around the rules and somehow. So it's quite a big deal by the looks of it, Alex. And so yeah, you might be right now. Now I think now after that's come out, it could be hours now before she goes.
Let's bring that up on the screen here if I can get that
Yeah,
zoomed
so
in
as
here.
soon as that happens, it means that they are trying to change the rules about the constitution where you cannot leave within an hour. So either they will change the rule, or they will force her to leave by another way to do it. And if you
Well,
if you Google 1922 committee
mhm.
and cannot leave within a year on Google, you will see it's all kind of related. It's all linked.
This is reporting that Prime Minister Liz Truss is meeting with Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the influential 1922 Committee of Backbench MPs. Number 10 has confirmed no reason has been given for why the meeting is taking place. The 1922 Committee oversees the election Conservative leadership. I think, speculating now, we're speculating.
I think
I
she's
think what's
gone.
going to happen here is they're going to go, you can jump, or we'll go down the humiliation route and we'll
Yeah,
push you.
exactly.
And that is unfortunate. That wasn't long. What was that? 2 weeks? Something
Yeah,
like that. 2 weeks.
yes, 2 weeks.
Um, who who's going to replace her? Is her chancellor going to replace her? You think?
Could be the Chancellor, could be Ben Wallace, mainly because
Who's
Rishi
left?
Sunak. Ben Wallace is the Defense Secretary, I think.
Mm.
If you open the link that I've sent you,
Mhm.
the new
Oh, you sent me a
statesman.
link. Okay, great.
Yeah, if you open up
New
that one.
Statesman. Give me a
Yeah,
moment for that one, okay? I will find that, and we'll close this link down here, and we'll come back to the screen. Okay, give me a sec. I'm just going to find that link there. 1 second, AJ. You can start talking about it while I. Yeah, just keep chatting about it. I'll find it.
sure. I'm gonna basically. Oh, hang on. So Jeremy Hunt and Ben Wallace have said that they do not want to be prime minister as well. So, so it
Okay,
looks
that's
like
very fluid, huh?
I think
Very
it's gonna
fluid.
be. I think it's gonna be a case of, we are telling you to be prime minister. You have no choice. I think it's gonna be Ben Wallace, that Jeremy Hunt, or Rishi Sunak. I think the Tories are gonna basically go up to them and say, one of them anyway, and say,
Would
look,
they will they let Boris back?
yeah, that's another option as well. I'm seeing a lot of articles saying, basically saying that they're gonna have to bring Boris back as well.
Oh, wonderful, huh?
Yeah, so if you look at this article, it says 1922 committee is ready to suspend the rule that prevents a vote to cost the Conservative leader within a year of taking office. So they're looking to get rid of that rule, and this is why they've brought her in for a meeting. So they're either going to change that rule, or they're going to basically force her to quit. They're going to say we either change the rule and kick you out, or you leave with your head held high and just quit. Basically, I think that's what they're going to say.
Wow. It just baffles me that these governments are continually being replaced all around Europe. It was just recently that Italy replaced its government. Before
Yeah,
that, it was Bulgaria. Before that, it was United Kingdom. Also, we're hearing many other countries that are about to go to vote. Sweden changed dramatically as well. We've got a lot of inquiries going on in Australia for through the police. And we have a major event going on in Canada regarding the treatment of the government on protesters that was squashed heavily in Canada back when the truckers had their rally on there. Let's have some of the comments on the side here. Um, there you go. You got some support there for you, AJ, to be prime minister. I'm not sure if you'd want the job, but
no, I don't think so.
it's nice to see.
Well, if I did,
Uh,
I know I would do something completely different from what everyone else is doing. I think, look, end of the day, Alex, whoever comes in as prime minister is gonna do probably a worse job than what Liz Truss is doing right now, because none of them have got a clue why they are in this situation. The first thing they need to do is roll back all of these sanctions, and
yeah.
no prime minister is going to come in and do that, because obviously they're governed by the deep state in UK. They're governed by all of these WFs and military industrial complex neocons. So nobody in UK has got the balls to do that, and that's going to be the first thing. So once you roll back these sanctions,
Hmm.
things will be easier. You can start buying gas and oil from Russia again, and think these costs will start going cheaper. So that's the first point of call. But nobody's talking about that. I mean, that's the most obvious thing, uh, and anybody with a brain can see that all of these issues, you know, are down to that, down to the sanctions.
Hmm.
It's also down to money printing and things like that as well. And there's not much they can do about that. But you know, the quick fix would be to roll back the sanctions, say sorry to Russia, and basically
Good luck.
force Ukraine to basically go on this neutral
Right.
stance, stop supporting Ukraine, and go along. Just have peace talks. And once peace returns back to Ukraine, in that part of the world, all the sanctions have been rolled back. Things will slowly go back to normal again. Because right now, the world is heading towards a multipolar world, and Russia is already making plans of moving to the east. It might be even too late, even if these Europeans say sorry and beg to Russia, beg to Putin, and it might have already been too late. I think Putin's already decided that his future is with the east rather than the west. I just
Um,
think that they've completely shot themselves in the foot.
just going to bring up, just so there's a clear understanding in the United Kingdom here for protests and marches, letting the police know by law, you must tell the police in writing 6 days before the public march if you're the organizer. Tell the police the date, time of the march, the route, names and addresses of the organizers. The police have the power to the following: limit or change the route, set any other condition of your march. If you arrange a march a short notice, you must still tell the police as you can. The police can also change locations, limit how long the rally lasts, limit the amount of people who can attend, and stop a sit-down protest if it blocks the road. Now, this could have been absolutely all avoidable if the police they knew about it, they saw that it was going on, they could have avoided this, they could have avoided people being fighting, attacked inside the embassy. Where were the police? This is all on the police. This has
Yep.
nothing to do with what's the law. Are people allowed to? They don't need to report it. Clearly they do in the United Kingdom here. That right there debunks anybody who is trying to say that you can just show up at an embassy in London and just behave the way you want, use profanity, use really obnoxious posters. Sorry, but that is not jiving there in the United Kingdom. So if you plan to have a protest in the UK, if you plan to insult people or do something, you will definitely, or you should be, not rewarded for it. You should go to jail. And I mean wrongful protesting. And there was no good intentions on that latest protest. I don't care what anybody says. It was ridiculed with.
Well, Alex,
Yeah, go ahead.
you missed the small print. The small print is you can do whatever the hell you want if it's a Chinese embassy, but all other embassies, no, you have to follow the rules, and that's the small print. And
Yeah, it really is
it's double
insulting. I mean,
standards. It's double standards. You cannot get away with doing stuff like that. Like I said, in an American embassy or an Israeli embassy or a British embassy.
mm,
And these guys were blocking. They were blocking the pavement. They were blocking the road. And in my video I did yesterday, I proved that the police were coming in and they were saying you are blocking the pathway. And just because this Indian guy and this Indian woman were saying, please remove these obstacles from the pathway, people cannot walk past, they started getting shouted at, profanities, they were being swore on. Um, yeah, it seems like these Hong Kongers just turned up without any sort of planning. They didn't let anybody know. Otherwise, if they did, there would have been a lot more police hanging around outside the embassy. Because it's definitely on the police. They just turned up.
mm.
You cannot do that.
ABC has Hong Konger protester above law. Totally agree with you on that. Just another bit of financial news here. The China keeps the benchmark lending rates unchanged in October. I think that's important to let people know that China is staying the course on that. That is a really important headline to read and to take some from. China has kept its market-based benchmark lending rate unchanged in October. The country's central bank announced on Thursday the one-year loan prime rate, LPR, which influences most new and outstanding loans in China, stayed at 3.65. The overall 5-year LPR, on which many lenders base their mortgage rates, stood at 4.3%. Still relatively decent rate. This year, the 1-year LPR was cut by 15 basis points. There's a long way to go if they need to stimulate the economy. They're not starting from zero, ramping it up, dealing with massive inflation, and then having to reverse, as Liz Truss does, on situations here. There's a couple more headlines that I want to bring up on the program while we're here and while we're at it. A few other ones here. This is an interesting part, and I wanted to kind of bring this to the attention and let you guys listen to this little sound bit here. China has a stronger capability of ensuring food security. Sorry, I'm garbling my words. I'm just going to play this video just to show you how this question was handled during. Okay, let's have a look.
Security is among a country's most fundamental interests. General Secretary Xi Jinping has stressed on many occasions that we cannot slack off one bit on the issue of food security and must always stay alert. My question is, what is the current food security situation, and is China able to keep its food supply steady and secure? Thank you for your question. Food bears on the future of a country and the well-being of its people. Food security is an important basis for national security. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, the Party Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, has treated it as a top priority of governance to feed our more than 1 billion people. A new vision on food security has been proposed and a strategy on national food security set. All localities and departments have worked earnestly, and the farmers and professionals working in the area have made hard efforts. Our capacity in ensuring food security has continued to grow. There are 5 points I'd like to share with you. First, our food production has continued to grow at a high level. In 2012, it stood at 600 billion kilograms for the first time and has, since 2015, remained at above 650 billion kilograms for 7 years straight. It scored a record high in 2021, reaching 682.85 billion kilograms, up 70.6 billion kilograms from 2012. Our per capita food production is 483.5 kilograms, which means that exports and abundant stock aside, our per capita food production alone has exceeded the internationally recognized food security line. Second, the basis for food production has continued to Cement. Our national farmland stands at 127.87 million hectares. We have established 70.53 million hectares of functional areas for grain production and protected areas for important agricultural products. We have 60 million hectares of high standard farmland, and the contribution rate of agricultural, scientific, and technological progress has reached 61%. The full coverage of improved varieties of food crops has been basically achieved. Third, the circulation of food is running smoothly with high efficiency. Nationwide, standard warehouses have an intact storage capacity of nearly 700 million tons, and storage conditions have generally reached world advanced levels. We have actively promoted market-oriented acquisitions featuring diverse market entities and channels and good quality and prices. We have done good work in policy-based acquisitions and guarded the red line of ensuring that food grown can be sold. The food reserve system has been further improved and effectively playing the key role of protecting the red line, stabilizing expectations, and ensuring security. Fourth, our emergency response has been strengthened. There are 6,000 emergency grain processing enterprises, 43,000 emergency supply outlets, more than 4,000 emergency storage and transportation enterprises, and more than 3,000 emergency distribution centers, capable of responding to various major natural disasters and public emergencies. Fifth, the food market runs smoothly on the whole. In recent years, due to various factors, the global food market has been quite volatile. In comparison, China's food market has seen ample supply and has been running smoothly on the whole. It effectively meets the needs of the people and has played an important role for the sound and sustained development of the economy and social harmony and stability. These 5 points fully show that China's food security situation is sound, and we are able to keep Chinese people's rice bowls firmly in their own hands, so to speak, and the rice bowls contain mostly grains grown in China. Going forward, we have the foundation, condition, ability, and confidence to always maintain the initiative in securing our food security, and the path of food security with Chinese characteristics is bound to become broader and wider. Thank you.
Well, there you go. There you go, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, everything's under control, no problem here. And I saw a couple of interesting tweets yesterday. One guy said that he bought 2 hamburgers and some French fries or something like that, and it was $25. I mean, wow! Oh, wow! Things are getting out of control.
Yeah, I can definitely understand this, Alex. I mean, China right now spends billions, tens and hundreds of billions of agricultural goods coming from United States. And as you know, there is a decoupling going on by the United States. And, I don't care what anyone says, they are systematically decoupling from China. I mean, with the chip law is obviously the latest one that's happened. China is still very they're at risk. Basically, they order a huge amount of agricultural product from USA. Most of it is soybeans, and they need soybeans for their own kind of pigs and other animals to eat. And the problem is soybeans isn't really produced much around the rest of the world. I think Brazil, Argentina have started doing them a lot. And Brazil is actually cutting down the rainforest to build soybeans, which is not really good for the environment. Argentina has started doing it. And recently, even Russia started doing it. But unfortunately, Russia has said that they cannot do it because of the climate. And the climate that America has is very good for building soybeans. But I've also read a report that China soybean industry is starting to increase now. They've found the technology to build soybeans in Chinese climate, especially around the Xinjiang area, and they have found kind of new technologies. So they're still very you can cut chips from companies and stuff like that. China will lose money, but America will lose money as well. But once you start cutting food from the Chinese people, there is a big security risk, and this is why they are saying what they're saying right now. And I think this is why they put that as a very top of their priority, having that food security and basically being independent from not only just US but also from the rest of the world, because especially with all of this decoupling going on. And don't forget, Alex, if there is any a war over Taiwan over the next few years, and USA and the rest of the world decide to sanction China, decide not to send any more food to China, then they will be at risk. So this is why it's really important for them to have that food security, and this is why I think they put that on the top of their list, making sure that they can feed their people.
Yeah, they're covering all. I mean, when you think about it, they are covering every single angle here, and it's really interesting to see that this country can actually forecast even some of the geopolitical things that are crippling other countries. Food is one of them in many other parts of the world. Electricity. This country continues to invest in massive electricity and eco programs, wind farms, solar. The EV car industry is massive here, and they're doubling down, tripling down, and spending the money. When you spend $1 billion in China, you get $1 billion back. When you spend it in other parts of the world, well, it might not even be built. This is interesting. So, got some comments here. C. Archer said the protester, and what we spoke about earlier, if you're just joining the program today, AJ did an in-depth video on his channel, PTE, and spoke about this situation through some very key details here. This comment is talking about the actual protesters, which did end up inside the consulate. We'll call it the embassy as well. The protester that was on consulate grounds took himself in there to get his banner back. He was not dragged in by the China consulate staffers. What's interesting is you don't dare go in those fences. They're there for a reason. They're not there to jump in there. Some other comments that we're seeing here in the sidebar. I'm just going to bring them up. Here we go from Kevin.
These protesters are really violent and very abusive. I had a few dealings with them myself when trying to talk to them. And when you throw them some hard truths and hard facts, they cannot take it. They start getting really aggressive. I think I've got some video clips of one guy in particular being really aggressive with me. This was in a Hong Kong march in Manchester, and then police had to step in because they could see that this was escalating, and they had to step in and come between us. And I think this is the problem, Alex. This is the problem of, the British have taken over Hong Kong since the Opium War. There was no democracy in Hong Kong. And they have basically run Hong Kong like some sort of, illegal drugs factory. And there was no rule of law, basically. And there's a lot of, Hong Kongers who have actually told me about this. There was no rule of law. It's basically, if you are, if it's within the British interest, you can pretty much do what you want. So you have all of these triads running free, drug barons running free, doing whatever they want. They were immune to being arrested in Hong Kong because they were basically serving the British, and the British were using them to make money from the opium trade and stuff like that. And people don't understand that Hong Kong has been running riots for years, and this is why the triads and stuff like that originated from Hong Kong. And a lot of these people are basically used to the lawlessness, and this is why you have all of these youngsters who are used to being in a lawless country, just running riot, destroying Hong Kong, beating up people in the streets, because this is how Hong Kong has been run since the British took over it. The British don't care about the Hong Kong people or the Hong Kong itself. They were just there to make money. There was no democracy. They didn't put any government in place. They had one goal in mind, and that is to make money. And if they made money from it, that's fine. And they're obviously working with lots of local gangsters to make the British money. And these gangsters were completely immune to being arrested. It's crazy. And I was reading the Hong Kong, some Hong Kong history. It's absolutely horrendous what the British did to Hong Kong. Not only did they seize it, but the fact that they used it like some sort of drugs palace for them. It's just, they didn't care about Hong Kong people, whether they were addicted to all these drugs, and they don't care about the violence that was going on and the lawlessness. As long as they made the money, and that was their primary goal and primary interest.
You see, there's a lot of I'm just reading in the side chats here. A lot of people comment on other examples of like, can solar energy survive? Can wind energy survive? We've seen a lot of countries around the world try solar, try wind energy. It has failed. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fail here. And I'll give you an example. The EV market is still struggling in the United States, and it's struggling in Canada. You have to understand that the size of these countries, United States, I believe, is geographically, I'm not sure if it's I don't know. I know Canada is number 2 for the large geography, and Russia is number 1. But certain things won't work in countries, and one of them are, for example, if wind and solar doesn't work in your country, that doesn't mean that it's not going to work in China, because you got to remember China's population is 1.5 billion. That's why you see some of the restaurant chains, and I'm bringing this up to be quite clear with you guys. Some of these restaurant chains stay in business just due to the population size, and it has enough to support it domestically. Where I come here and I say, what is that brand doing here? It's failed in the West. What is that, car doing here? No one buys that car anymore. But there are certain brands that actually survive here or have a second life here. They can, evolve into this market and, maybe let the company survive. And that's with anything. If you look at a lot of the major players that are still involved here, even in the restaurant business, the Starbucks. I mean, Starbucks get a gigantic amount of revenue from this country, and let's say that you hear Starbucks closing in other parts of the world, but they might be opening here. It's numbers. It's also the investment. I see a lot of things that are invested here that they continue investment. I'll give you an example. In Thailand, when they open up new locations, for the first year, the property looks great, the location is great, and the business is usually great. But I find a lot of businesses in Thailand don't reinvest that profits back into, painting the place, making it look good the second year or the third year. If it's a hotel or if it's a beach resort that needs new chairs, there's not that. It's a very short-term look, and that's not for all businesses in Southeast Asia. But there are certain people that think, well, I gotta, make the money while I can, and okay, we're profitable, and then they wonder year 2, year 3, where's the money? The revenues declined, and I've gone back to hotels, I've gone back to restaurants in Thailand 2 or 3 years later. First, I had a good experience the first time when it was opening. Then the second year, you go back and you go, wait a minute, what happened to this place? It looked like, the lawn chairs are broken. The paint is peeling off the building. And you think, what a beautiful location. What happened? And it's just the mentality here where they have the ability and they have the money to invest. And when they're investing here, it's not 6 months. It's not 1 year. It's not, let's try it and see how it goes. It is long-term. Some of these stores I know are running probably in the red for the first year, 2 years, 3 years. But I can tell you that some of these stores are staying in business just to wait for China to open. And it's really fascinating. So you might see that on other channels. And I know what these guys are talking about. They're talking about some other commentators saying that, certain types of energy won't work in China. But they do. They are considerable. Same with the bullet trains. Let's talk about bullet trains, AJ. A lot of people say, well, China's bullet train, they're not profitable. But I don't think they necessarily care about profitability at this point. It's a long-term investment in the people. It's to open up logistical lines in the country. It's not something 1 or 2, 3 years. But then again,
yeah, you're right. People don't understand. Yeah, people don't understand. No, yeah, sorry to cut you off, but
that's okay.
One important thing that people don't understand: train fares are set to such a low amount that anyone can afford it. I mean, we're talking about, these high-speed rails are cheaper than a bus in London, for example. They are so cheap. People don't understand how cheap they are. And China can easily make it into a profit. They can just increase the price of these tickets. They can increase it by 10 times. It will still be profitable if they increase it by 10 times. But they decided not to do that. The fact is, they're looking at the big picture, the long-term benefit. They've got 1.4 billion people. If all of them start traveling in high-speed rail, imagine the profit they will make. But they can easily. People have been surveyed in China, and people have said that is one thing that everyone has said is it is so cheap, and even if China increases the price by 10 times, people will still pay for it because it's so convenient. It's much easier than flying, and they can easily increase the price. But the fact that they haven't done that, it shows that this is not their goal to make money. The goal is to develop the country. The goal is to make people's lives better, make people's lives easier, and that's the main goal. And this is still a long-term project. I mean, name any business where you can get profits right away within the first year. This is a big investment. It's going to take time. This is a long-term investment. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, they will make their profit. All they have to do is increase their prices. They will make their profit, but that's not the point. The point is to build the country.
Here's a question I'll pose for the people that are watching the program today. Can you name a government that is running its transit system and it's profitable?
Exactly.
Can you name one government in the world that's run a profitable transit system?
Yeah, I mean, in UK, we're building HS2s. Now the price has gone up to 150 billion, and they're not going to make that money back. I mean, for them to make that money back, Alex, they're going to have to charge people $1,000 per ticket just to go from London to Manchester. Nobody's going to pay for that. Everyone's going to be like, sod that, I'll just take a bus, I'll drive there or something. I mean,
it's
they're
crazy.
not going to make that money back. Not even in 100 years. They'll go bust way before then. But
I had
Alex,
go ahead.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
just want to bring up the solar part as well. I know
Sure.
a lot about the Chinese solar because I did a lot of. I actually ordered some solar panels from China, and
Oh, really? Are you gonna like throw them on the roof of your house? And
yeah. I've got this huge roof, flat roof,
okay.
and I've ordered quite a lot to kind of fill up the whole roof. And this is coming from Xinjiang, by the way, and they're very, very, very cheap. And China is very, very self-reliant when it comes to solar. All of the solar products, photovoltaic, it's all produced in Xinjiang, and Europeans are buying solar material from China, but also the wind generators. The wind generators are basically rare earth minerals, and these rare earth minerals are produced in China. So all these wind generators are coming from China. All these solar panels are coming from China. And the thing is, Alex, one of the problems that people don't seem to understand that with renewable energy, especially solar and wind, there isn't really an effective way to save that power. So, for example, during the day when you have a lot of sun, you can use that power right away. But if you don't have sun, you don't really have the infrastructure to save all of that energy and then give it to households in the night. So this is why they have to use coal and nuclear and other forms of energy for the night, and during the day they use renewables like solar. But technology is now changing. There are ways to save solar energy. But what China is also doing, what other countries are not doing, China is actually the only country they are doing this. Not even United States has this. But solar is basically all the solar panels are mainly in the west of China. You've got where all the sun is, where the Gobi Desert is, and things like that. And because they have to produce, use that solar energy straight away, so you cannot store it at the moment. They don't have that infrastructure just yet. So what they're doing is they're building these high voltage the high voltage electricity cables all the way going from the west all the way to the east, and they have been building that for the last 10 years. And these are high voltage ones. These are not the ones you see in the west. In the west, these are stuff that's been built 100 years ago, maybe 200 years ago in some points, but these are high voltage ones, which means you lose. When you transport energy, you lose energy throughout. When you transport it, you lose 10% here, 20% there. But these high voltage energy retains 80% of the energy or something like that, I heard. And they're building those all over China. So they're going from all the way from the Gobi Desert, going all the way to Shanghai, Beijing, um, all over China is going through. So these are infrastructure projects which no other country is doing, and China has been spending hundreds of billions on this. And this is the main problem that solar has, really, is the transport of the energy, is a storage of energy. And they have probably completed 80%. And this year they have added another 200-300 billion to build more of these ultra high voltage electricity lines. And United States does not even have one. If you think about it, they don't even have one. So even if United States wants to build solar panels in the Arizona desert, for example, there is no
Yeah,
way
good
they
luck.
can move. No way they can move that to New York. China has been working on these high voltage lines for over 10 years now, and they have built a very, very good very good kind of industrial and infrastructure based on that. And no other country has put the investment in. And China, I think they've spent more than $1 trillion, and there's so many
It's
of
a
these
lot of
all
money, yeah.
yeah. And that's what they're doing. And it's not all about just having solar, and it's not all about having the solar panels. You got to transport it, you got to save it, you got to move it around the country. And that's what China's been working on, is the actual infrastructure. And there is a story that United States built this huge solar farm just off California. And this is you just have to Google it. And this solar farm got shut down after 1 year. This solar farm was supposed to be the biggest solar farm in the United States, and it got shut down after 1 year. And do you know why? Because
Tell me.
they, even though they produced a lot of solar energy, they couldn't transport it anywhere. They couldn't move. They couldn't move it. They were trying to transport it using the old-fashioned lines. These are not even high voltage lines. These are old lines which have been created over 100 years ago. And what you would have is you would have a lot of energy being wasted while it's being transported. And by the time it went to the big cities, they were getting maybe 10% or 5% of the energy. And that was absolutely useless, especially when you spent billions working on it. So this solar plant lost so much money, and they shut down after 1 year. This is not happening in China. China is moving this energy around to the rest of China, and the United States, unless they fix their infrastructure, unless they start building these high voltage electricity lines and things like that, there is no way they will be successful when it comes to solar energy. And it's the same with wind energy as well, Alex. You need to have infrastructure to move this energy around the country. Otherwise, it's useless. If you can't store it, what is the point of making the energy if you can't move it around the country?
I mean, very true. And that's the thing that people just don't understand, that, there are logistics put in place here. And I keep going back over and over and over what I mean by logistics here. The infrastructure, it's everywhere here in China. I mean, have a look at the day 5 highlights here, AJ. I want to just show you. Look at these highlights. These would be something that your country or my country would like. I mean, the coordinated development of the Tianjin-Hebei major areas. The 20th CPC National Congress holds a second meeting. Chinese modernization, delegates. I mean, it's just so systematically put in place. It's absolutely incredible. And there's organizations going on here. It's just people don't believe us when we're telling them what's going on in China. And I mean, your example there, talking about how bad things were going on in the UK, and how much they were charging for certain things, even for train rides. But I mean, pretty scary times if you're trying to be a saver in these countries. You're trying to avoid massive increases in your mortgage. I mean, we've seen tons of people here in the comment section really upset about what's going on. And, I was speaking about this with my wife this morning. I said, can you imagine Can you just imagine the anger that is going on in many of these countries throughout the world that, they have nothing to do with the geopolitical thing, but they're getting hit by energy prices. They're getting hit by, massive inflation. And we are talking numbers that are just off the charts, AJ. I don't know how some of these people are going to survive. I really don't. And my heart goes out to a lot of the people there. And I want to say to you, most of you, there is good news around the corner. Once China gets open, I think it could be a good lifestyle change for many people to come into this country. I truly believe that. I moved here. I moved to this country, and I'm reading headlines that are outside this country, like, water bills going up 20 to 30%. I'll give you an example, guys. I got a good example today. My wife was just given a renewal for her parents, for her their I guess it would be medical insurance in Thailand. Okay, the rates, get this, in 1 year, AJ, the rates, the normal renewal rate, okay, for the term, 1 year term, went up. You ready for it? 60%. 60. They put up the renewal rate for the insurance for her parents' health insurance. One 60% and the other one about 35-40%. And the company basically said, well, due to, the standard rate of, of inflation, they used all these kind of excuses. 60% just for to renew health insurance for a year. That's in Thailand. So I can just imagine what people are going through. And this is a country here that has, of course, I'm not saying that everything is perfect here. There's a lot of room for improvement in many aspects, but they have, a new 5-year plan for that. They have a 5-year plan for spending, you just heard it, on food. They have a 5-year plan for policing. They have a 5-year plan for, changing certain laws. I mean, it's extremely difficult. And I think we're going to get into some pretty dark times here, AJ. I'm very, very concerned about the geopolitical landscape. And you can't blame all this on two countries that are in conflict right now. This is the poor decision of a lot of these European Union countries that do not want to go down the diplomatic route. This could all be over real quick if one or two nations stood up and said, wait a minute, let's find a solution for this. Let's go back. Let's talk about the agreement that these countries did sign, called the Minsk Agreement, which was very clear, in which the Poroshenko did sign, and which was brokered by Hollande and Angela Merkel. That's it there. This could all be over in 24 hours if they sit down at the table. But nope, the military-industrial complex, the collective West, wants to get together. They want to pump billions and billions of dollars. And I don't like conflict. Okay, my father was in the military. He lost his father in the Second World War in the Atlantic on a very cold November night. I don't like it. I understand what Remembrance Day is, going to Remembrance Day, buying poppies, going to the Legion, talking to all these war vets. No one likes that. But where on earth are the diplomacy in this world? Where is it? People don't want to sit down with each other anymore. There's not one country in the European Union that wants to sit down and find a way out of this. No, but they find lots of time to ship billions of dollars of hardware. They find lots of time to accept the United States sending billions of dollars. And when I'm talking about the United States, I'm not talking about the citizens in that country. I'm not blaming any of the citizens in the country, but I am blaming these elected officials. I can tell you one thing, and one thing that I know for a fact, that living here over a year, that every person that works in the government here is accountable. There's accountability, AJ. You cannot go out, and if you do something, if you're taking bribes or you're doing something illegal and stuff, you're going to get caught. you're going to get caught. And, that's what, Xi did. He's cleaned up this country for many years. And we went over that in other shows. But it is absolutely so sad and what's going on in this world. And I just want our viewers to just take a deep breath. Guys, I hope that there's good news around the corner in diplomacy coming up here, because this winter is not going to be very nice in Europe unless we find a resolution. But everybody's playing this out in the media. And I mean, do we know any country that could sit down and get these guys at the table, AJ?
No, Alex. Unfortunately, not. And you have to understand how international diplomacy works. Really, they are all part of this exclusive club. And
Okay.
Recently there was clips showing these European leaders who are drinking champagne. They were basically laughing and joking. They had this summit only just like a week ago, and they were laughing and joking. They were drinking champagne. They were having the time of their lives. And while the rest of the people in their own countries were suffering with the high cost of living, being cold, being miserable, maybe losing their businesses, maybe losing their homes, well, you have these people who actually make the decisions, laughing and joking around. It's not going to affect them, Alex. They're all part of this exclusive club. And when you are part of this exclusive club, you gotta basically follow the rules. And the rules is, you gotta follow the what your boss tells you, which is the United States. If the United States tells you, you gotta toe the line. You gotta all kind of toe the line. If you don't, then you are at risk of being kicked out of this exclusive club. And none of these leaders want that. And this is how how the world is right now, Alex. Everybody, it wants to be part of this exclusive club. They don't want to leave this club. They have all these benefits. They make money. They have loads of other benefits. They have power, and this is power politics. They are basically playing power politics with people's lives. They don't care because they are, as they see it, they have the power. They can do whatever they want. People like Ursula, who are not even voted in by the people, she has all the power. She can do whatever the hell she wants. Liz Truss can do whatever the hell she wants. We are living in a world where these people who are gambling with people's lives, and they can get away with it because there's no nobody gets in trouble for it. I mean, you can see with the Iraq War, has anybody is Bush in any sort of trouble for lying? Is Blair in any sort of trouble? No, they're not. They're sitting in their homes with billions of pounds in their pockets. They made so much money. Nobody's accountable, Alex. Nobody gets accountable for making wrong decisions. Nobody's accountable for making oh, sorry. That clip I was actually, you can ignore that. You can go to the next one. This clip is basically talking about the solar plant that got shut down. So he's talking about it's called the Crescent Moon, by the way, and this was built in California. It only lasted 1 year, and it cost over $1 billion. And this is basically the same thing that's happening on any wind farm or solar farm in the United States, because they don't have the infrastructure. They can't move this energy around to the rest of the country. If you open up the next article, you can see that kind of explained in the heading, so you don't need to go through the whole video. So you can see 1 billion solar plant is obsolete, expensive flop. And you see these stories all over United States, but you don't see any of these stories in China, because in China they don't just put these solar farms just for the sake of it. They look at everything. They look at the infrastructure. They look at how they're going to transport it, what materials they're going to use, how it's going to benefit the people. There's no plan when it goes in the United States. There's no planning when it comes to renewables. And United States, they love their oil, they love their gas, they love their fossil fuels. When it comes to renewables and stuff like that, people are just not really interested. In the United States, they are not interested. When you tell them about renewables and stuff, they're like, give me oil and gas any day. America's absolutely hooked on oil and gas. They're addicted to it. It's like a drug to them. and they cannot get rid of it anytime soon. I mean, they love it. So, that's why these renewable projects, they do not last in the United States. And you got to understand that before Biden, Trump was around, and Trump basically exited every single renewable project in the United States when he was there, cancelled the Paris Agreement and many other renewables. It's only Biden that has come along and tried to put a change to things. But it's too little too late. How long has Biden been in power? 2 years. And look how things are now. He's been absolutely hammered because of his policies, green policies. And now he's completely done a U-turn. He's giving licenses to oil companies to drill more oil, shale oil, and all of these green policies are now going out the window. And United States they just cannot get away from the addiction to oil and gas and fossil fuels. And
Yeah.
they try and blame China for it, saying, "Oh, China's not going, can't do this, can't do that." But look at your own country. China's doing fine renewables. The solar and the wind power and renewables is more than the whole world combined in China. The whole world combined, and double that figure. If you add all of the renewables like solar and wind in the rest of the world, double that figure, still China has a larger amount than the rest of them, times 2. And that shows you how fast China's solar and wind is going. And this year alone, they've invested 6 trillion more on solar and wind projects. And over the next few years, you will see, they're going to extend that lead. So, like I said, Alex, going back to my last thing about the exclusive club, there's nobody. They're just gambling with people's lives, really, and they just feel like they can do whatever the hell they want, getting away with it. There's no accountability. Nobody gets in trouble for making bad decisions, and things are not going to change anytime soon. You see the government, nobody actually comes up and says anything. Nobody has got any common sense. The common sense approach would be to sit down and look at why we are in this position, why we're in this mess. And the answer is right in front of you. The answer is, it's because of your sanctions against Russia. It's because of your policies with Ukraine. Why didn't you follow the Minsk agreement? Why did you push Ukraine to join NATO? These are all the answers that's pointing directly at your face. But people are not looking at the obvious. People, refuse either they refuse to look at the answers, the obvious answers, or they just don't want to, or they're told not to. Like the Nord Stream stuff, who blew up the pipelines. Every one of these European leaders is quiet. And Scholz, which is who's the biggest cuckold of our time. I mean, he's the biggest cuckold in the world right now. This guy is systematically destroying the German economy, and he's allowing the US to do it. He's allowing the US to RAPE his country, and he's just sitting there taking it, not saying anything. It's sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I wanted to point out something. It's just an endless amount of just no direction in these countries. I wanted to bring back something. If we can back up to the Hong Kong story, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
I think there's some people that aren't aware that I actually left Thailand to do coverage of the Hong Kong protests. And it was one of the very first videos I ever put on my channel. And I have to tell you, I was very transparent with my intentions to go to Hong Kong to film. I went there with an open mind. And I remember reaching out to a couple of communities, asking them, do we need a media pass? Can we just go there as vloggers? And it was funny. There was a lot of online people commenting saying, if you want to get media, you have to contact Apple Daily. I think it was called Apple Daily, I believe. Let me just see if that's the right name.
Yeah,
guys.
Apple Daily, the Hong Kong.
And
really
I was
notorious. Yeah,
And
notorious.
yeah, and I started to see a lot of these strange, messages come back saying, yeah, you got to do this and that. And it was not friendly. Okay. It was very odd. And I thought, who are these guys? And there was never really a clear path on how to get the right type of contacts with the media. So I decided to get on an airplane myself, and I got my own press hat, and I went into Hong Kong, and I kept a pretty low profile to try to understand what was going on there. And it soon realized to me that things that were going on there were not what the Western or the collective West was reporting. It was just diabolical. And I just want to share you guys a little bit of a video if you haven't seen it. I actually was leaving Hong Kong after I recorded it, and you can see some of the videos on my site later, but I got to show you this little clip. It was very strange because as I was leaving, going into the airport, the media were setting up not a very transparent way. They were waiting, or they were trying to find somebody that would speak negative about the situation in the city. And here it goes. This is in 2019.
So they're quite open about having the media here. I don't know why they're saying that the press is cut off or shut down or anything like that, but they're still allowing the press. Hi.
Okay, sir. How many? One.
Just me, yeah.
Two. Okay, here.
Hi, how are you? You want to check my passport? Okay.
Yes.
Boarding pass.
Yes.
There, it's on my phone, but
Okay.
how about the passport first? Okay. So just getting my passport checked right now. We're here for extra security due to the events going on here. This lady's just checking. She's working for security here just to keep the things under control here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any problem inside yet?
Yes.
Many people inside?
Yeah.
Protest inside? So who says that China's cracking down on media? Look at the Hong Kong media here. No problem. Get to ask anybody anytime.
Now you see in front of me there, this is where, during the time where the Western media was saying that, media was being, Chinese were cracking down on media. Look at how many media and press there are there. They're all over the place there, AJ.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. And they were just sitting, waiting for somebody to speak out or to say something negative. And it really felt staged, that things that I was watching over the days. And I avoided these guys. I avoided all these guys.
My words
Yeah.
for media, depending who is here, but you're going to see all the press behind me here. All these media outlets are waiting for things to actually kick off here in Hong Kong. So we do have quite a bit of press here at the airport, and everybody is trying to see if this situation, the sit-in, is.
So my whole feeling on that situation is exactly what the media is doing in the United Kingdom right now in regards to this consulate situation. It's totally doesn't make any sense on how they can take one story and turn it to another. But this is incredible. I mean, when do people and when do our viewers kind of say to these collective West and these Western media outlets, enough is enough? As a British person, you're funding the BBC. It's a crown corporation.
Yeah. We're forced to pay for the BBC, by the way. We are absolutely forced. If you don't, we get sent to jail. How's that for authorized? Basically, what other country forces you to pay for a TV license? Is crazy. Also, Alex, I mean, I love Hong Kong, right? I mean,
Hmm.
as a Westerner, I grew up watching Hong Kong films, martial art films, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee,
Hmm.
Jet Li. I love Hong Kong. I love, the people, the culture. But when you see these protests, it really saddens me how these proud Hong Kongers were absolutely destroying their own country. They weren't, you know, when you want to protest, it's fine. You can protest. You can want to make your voices heard is fine, but to go out and destroy your country, go out and destroy your city. I mean, for them it's their country, obviously, but I mean, it is a province of China, obviously. But for them, they thought it was a completely separate country from the rest of China. I think they're completely brainwashed. The fact that they feel that it is their place. And I think the fact that they're going out there and trying to destroy what the whole of China, and it's just really saddening to see these people. I mean, they were actually going out destroying businesses, infrastructure, whatever they can. These are not people who actually love China. This is not people who love Hong Kong. These are people who are out there trying to destroy the city, the country. It's just it's crazy. When I say country, I mean the whole of China. I don't mean
Yes,
Hong
of
Kong as a
course.
country as well.
We know
But,
that, AJ. We know that. But
um,
that's another thing is when you hear, the people that are in charge of the security for China speak at this Congress yesterday. There wasn't one hesitation on being very clear what the laws are, uh, what they're going to do moving forward.
mm,
A person cannot use ignorance to break the law here. They can't just say, well, I didn't know. I was not aware of that. And that's the thing is even in the United Kingdom, we saw a prime example yesterday where people that happen to should be charged. They should be charged. They should be arrested. They should go to jail. Um,
yeah,
and we're here trying to support people from China, yet our own governments and our own media. You got to remember, if you're watching from Canada, you're watching from Australia, you're watching from the United Kingdom, people will say, oh, yeah, well, China has its own state media. Well, what do you think the Canadian Broadcasting Council is, a CBC in Canada? That's funded by the Canadian taxpayer, but it's a government run
yeah.
media outlet. The BBC
BBC.
is a government run media outlet. So, they'll ban RT from YouTube, but when the BBC puts fake news out on there, or the
Mm,
CBC puts fake news, which they've done a lot, which they're continuing to do, we saw it happen yesterday. You cannot tell me that is fair and balanced, neutral broadcasting. And once again, the integrity of news outlets, I can't even call them news outlets anymore because the integrity that I used to have for media is gone. And I think with the public, it's gone too. I think most people that are watching our program today, people that tune into your channel, tune into our channel, my channel, Reportify Media, our channel, iChongqing, they're coming here because they're tired of being lied to. They need an insight on what's going on in China.
yeah,
And your
exactly.
channel, of course. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly, Alex. And people don't understand the history why these protests that happened in the first place. This all started due to a Hong Kong woman getting killed in Taiwan,
Yeah.
and she was killed in Taiwan. Is Hong Kong resident, and this murderer was running free. And obviously, they didn't have any extradition policies between Taiwan and Hong Kong. So the Chinese government kind of said, "All right, let's put this extradition policy in place. Let's get this murderer to justice." And all of these basically Hong Kongers started getting really paranoid, thinking, "Oh no, way, this is authoritarian, blah blah blah," and they didn't care about this murderer running free in the streets. He could be murdering other women. They didn't care about that. They're just caring about their own skins. And also, you just look around the Western countries. I mean, give UK for example. They are sending Assange extradited to USA.
Chris, he'll
And
probably die. He'll probably
yeah,
die.
he'll probably die, and he's been in prison without. He's not been even charged. He's not
Nope.
even been charged by any court, or he's not been charged for any crime. He's been in Belmarsh prison, which is the highest security prison, and now he's getting extradited to USA. And you tell me what the difference is between that and the Hong Kong extradition process. There's no difference. In fact, it's more stricter in the West. It's more stricter in UK right now, because this, Assange is basically being treated like a terrorist. He's had no he's not been charged. He's not been he's been put in prison for no apparent reason, and now he's been extradited to the USA because USA wants to get him killed. And these Hong Kongers are basically going around destroying Hong Kong because of this stupid extradition treaty. I mean, they are so brainwashed. They are, they're absolutely, I think that, obviously we all know that there are a few Hong Kongers which the governments around the world have been paying off to start trouble. And a few of them probably started trouble, organizing a few gangs, and let's do this, let's do that, and it all escalated out of control.
Yeah, I share this with you. There's a comment here as well by Single Speed B. I think I pronounced that right. He says CCTV didn't and never say any ugly words about the British. I have to kind of say that China's media should fight back more than what they do. If there's one thing that I would like to see the media here, as they're so polite. Most of them are so polite, or when they're reporting, they're trying to give as much factual base. Of course, there's going to be differences and different opinions, and I think this is wrong, I think that's wrong. You're going to get that, but they need to hit back harder, and I think they're learning. Hopefully our show, coming up on the weekend, Let's Talk China, is going to be able to get a massive audience, because we got to.
I think it's okay to speak your mind and hit back, because the thing is, you see the US and the British doing all of this stuff. Like, for example, after the US decided to put this chip bill towards China, trying to destroy Chinese economy, but then you see articles in CGTN coming out on YouTube saying, what is the future now of relations between the US and China? Just nice stuff, nice headings. And when you listen to the interviews, everyone's been nice. Apart from a few, I think there's one or two people like Victor Gao and Iga Changjun as well. They actually speak their mind. They say exactly how it is. But everyone else just seems to be just too nicey. I think there needs to be more people like Iga Changjun, and also needs to be more people like Victor Gao as well. I think Chinese, definitely they are learning to kind of speak up a bit. I think 20, 30 years ago, I remember the time when NATO bombed the Chinese embassy in Belgrade, and the Chinese said nothing. They were quietly displeased about it, but I don't remember any Chinese media outlets speaking out against it at the time. I don't remember anyone saying anything at the time. It was fairly quiet, and I think recently, I think everything changed in Alaska. There was a meeting in Alaska by Blinken, and he called up these Chinese, and he decided to show them off in front of the camera, and he started insulting them. And to his surprise, they all started fighting back. All the Chinese diplomats started fighting back against Blinken in Alaska, and that was quite. I think that was a turning point. And then obviously they have this name called Wolf Warrior. If a Chinese diplomat fights back or speaks his mind, he's called a Wolf Warrior, and that goes around the Western media as well. But I think things are slowly changing, Alex. But yeah, I still see too much nicey articles around in CGT and CCTV. But I think the only media outlet that I feel that is kind of speak their mind is Global Times. But it is a written news article, not like a YouTube channel or anything like that.
I think, just to put everybody's mind to rest, we will be relaunching this show. There's a lot of things that I don't want to talk about the show because there are a lot of guests that you'll be quite surprised that are coming on the program. I think and they have said they will make the announcements on their channels. So I don't want to go into give too many things away who's going to be on the channels. Some of the old names are definitely going to be back. The syndication, we are in discussion for that. It could be quite large if everything comes in line. The audience and the amount of numbers that will be watching this show are going to be staggering. And I hope it will pick up some serious speed here. There's something I wanted to talk to you guys about yesterday. Someone actually emailed me last night and they said, Alex, what are you talking about? When you were saying that in the United States that prisons are publicly traded companies, and they said I was full of it. Okay, they said I was absolutely full of it, and said I don't know what I'm talking about, and it was quite a nasty email, and I'm not going to read it, but it basically said, you'll say anything to try to get the upper hand. Well, I didn't have to really do this, but I'm going to show it on the program here today. Two of the biggest companies, CoreCivic and the Geo Group, are publicly traded in the correctional systems. However, less than 10% of state and federal inmates are in the care of private prisons. But I want you guys to have a look at how many people are incarcerated in the United States. Don't let that 10% figure really fool you, because that 10% figure is in the hundreds of thousands of people
it's the
that are
highest incarceration rate in the world.
Right. That are incarcerated in publicly traded prison companies. Now, I think the average person can understand that a publicly traded prison wants to make profit, right? And the profitability comes from incarceration or terms of incarceration. And some of these companies allegedly use, of course, just like tobacco companies, lobbyists. And these lobbyists talk about time durations, sentences, should they be extended, or maybe longer sentences, which means more revenue for the bottom line. And that is an extraordinary figure. You guys can just Google that yourself. Google CoreCivic and the Geo Group. Actually, let's have some fun with this, okay? Let's have some fun with this. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can pull this up on the screen here.
While you're searching for that, Alex, the United States justice system is the most corrupt justice system in the world. It's not about right and wrongs. It's never about who's right, who's wrong, who's committed the crime, who's guilty, who's innocent. It's never about that. The only thing that matters is who's got money and who doesn't, who's rich and who's poor. Because if you have money, you can afford to pay your bail. You can afford to buy good lawyers to get you out. But if you're poor, you got no money, you can't pay for bail. You get sent to prison. You can't afford good lawyers, so you're getting these ridiculous sentences, and you're just stuck there. It's all about rich versus the poor, Alex. It's never about right and wrong.
In or out. You've said it right. Here is something that it deeply concerns me that I want our viewers to just look at for a moment here. This is a publicly traded company in the United States. Publicly traded as in it's trading on the stock market. Okay. CoreCivic, formerly the Corrections Corporation of America, is a company that owns and manages private prisons and detention centers and operates other on the concession basis. Okay. Look at the employees. How many employees there are? Can you see that number, AJ?
Yeah. Yep.
10,000 employees. And I like how they really downplayed that 10%, but that's 10,000 just employees. Okay. Subsidiaries, of course, Avalon Correctional Services, etc., etc. Have a look at the revenue.
Yep.
This is just one company. This is big business.
Mm.
Revenue of 1.98 billion US dollars. That is a staggering amount of company for a publicly traded company. Doesn't that make you just feel ill? That knowing that if somebody goes to jail, that some of them are run publicly?
Yep.
Do you think that this is for a non-profit organization? This is run. I don't even have any words for this. That's one of the companies. Go on, AJ.
I think one of the ways they make money is probably a lot of people don't realize this is slave labor.
Absolutely, AJ.
The United States likes to paint the picture of forced labor or slave labor in China, but with the United States, they try and blame other countries the crimes they do themselves. So United States has got the biggest they got the highest incarceration rate, but they make money through forced labor. So these prisoners are, to reduce the sentencing, they have to work for free or literally pennies around USA, whether it's infrastructure programs or businesses and stuff, and these companies make a profit from it. And while these prisoners, they don't get paid for it. They basically have to do it to reduce their sentencing, or maybe even if they want to bring parole in an earlier for good behavior and things like that. And it's all about making money, and this is how they make money out of these prisoners. Nobody, so they give them jobs, and these companies give these companies money. They don't have to pay the employees because these prisoners, they're just slaves, really, slave labor, forced labor. And this is knowledge that's this is absolute what's happening in the United States. You just have to Google it, incarceration, forced labor in USA, and you'll see it actually does happen. It's happened, and if you have a huge rate of incarceration, of people, you have a huge amount of people that are there to kind of work for free. For forced labor, and this is what United States does. They love to do all of these things. They'd love to talk about human rights against other countries, against China and stuff like that. But they have the worst human rights record in the world. They have the worst incarceration rate in the world. They have forced labor. They have slave labor. They do everything under the book, but they like to accuse other countries of doing what they're doing. And this is what the United States is all about.
This really frustrates me because, I spend endless hours researching and digging into this stuff. And we are going to turn over some very interesting stories here coming up on our weekend shows. But here's another example here, the Geo Group. The Geo Group is a publicly traded corporation that invests in private prisons and mental health facilities in the United States. I'm laughing at that. North America, Australia, South Africa, and the United Kingdom. Okay. CEO, all right. Revenue, 2.25 billion last year. Okay. Headquarters in Boca Raton. But I'm not done with that, guys. I'm not done there. Not even close with these characters. Because this just shows you, free country, my ASS. Let's continue with these characters. And as AJ reported earlier, Geo Group faces lawsuits over alleged use of forced labor at immigration detention centers. The group has been accused of relying on cheap and unpaid labor by detained immigrants and is facing several lawsuits allegedly that voluntarily work programs at their facilities violate state minimum wage laws. Several people are currently or formerly living in detention have allegedly that they were threatened if they didn't work and worried they could not afford basic commissary items without performing labor for GEO.
Exactly.
I mean,
you see, Alex,
it's
slavery
right there.
still exists. Modern slavery still exists. People don't realize it exists.
Where's the inquiry? Where's the inquiry? We seen the inquiry in Xinjiang area. Where's the inquiry here?
Yeah,
Where is
exactly.
it? Where is it? It should be this weekend. Let's have an inquiry about it. I mean, this is a publicly traded company using, you know, this is just one of their lawsuits. I mean, let's see what else these characters have been up to. I mean, they are probably funding. Okay, I'm just reading here. The GEO group, which runs, get this, guys, I'm going to read this to you, which runs ICE detention centers in Aurora, can't be shielded from the, there's a class action lawsuit going on. The court denied the motion to decertify a 40,000 person lawsuit against GEO. 40,000. Okay, 40,000 people.
Yep.
It just leaves you speechless.
I think it's 40,000 people who actually stood up and put their names down. But imagine how many hundreds of thousands of people who have not put their names down, who are probably still in prison with no rights. The 40,000 people who are these are probably who came out of prison, and they probably realized that they've had a really tough deal or bad luck. But imagine how many people who have not reported this, who have not put their names down or signed up to this.
It just blows my mind. And do they use lobbyists? Well, we're going to bring that up on my next podcast. Do they use lobbyists to persuade judges to have longer sentences for people that are in prison? I mean, it's completely, I'm without words. A bit shocking. Let's go out on a positive note. I mean, let's go out on a positive note. The good news is we've got a few more days here in the Congress here in China here, the 20th CPC National Congress. We got some great news coming out. China is going to play a greater role in global environmental governance. I hope that we will get some more news. We didn't really get too much news on the dynamic COVID policy. We do see some loosening of some regulations here in Hong Kong. But yeah, over to you, AJ.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, Alex, but
No, please go.
Looks like there is a press conference in 2 minutes in Downing Street, and I think Liz Truss will probably announce her resignation. She'll be quit in literally 2 minutes. So I think we probably have an absolute breaking news live.
Moment.
So if you go to BBC, it'll tell you like the next press conference is out.
Yeah. Okay, one sec.
So it looks like she's probably out of there, to be honest. Because why else would you hold a press conference only for important matters? So she's gonna come out and she's gonna probably quit. She's probably been forced to quit or something. Giving her a nice paycheck, saying, right, we'll give you this money, just quit, just leave with your head held high. You know what? One thing about the CPC Congress that I love, Alex. I love my architecture projects and stuff like that. I love my mega projects. Has there been any mega projects announced, new major projects or anything like that?
They're continuing on with the Chongqing new area, and they've opened up the train station there. Lot of stuff, a lot of updates have been on that area. That's a major project. That's going on for decades.
That's like $500 billion is costing them. It's a
big money.
Completely new city. But you know what? They're going to make that money back, Alex. They will easily make the money back, because one thing that stops a city from growing, right, is population. And Beijing is so overpopulated. People have to wait hours on traffic. There's just too many people. But if you alleviate that population, Beijing's GDP will shoot up. Zhongang's population will shoot up and their GDP is going to shoot up. And that's just going to be great for the Chinese economy. So you have basically two cities next to each other building up their GDPs. And I think if Zhongang is successful, there's going to be quite a few other cities popping up in around China over the next few years. And Alex, one of the reasons Zhongang is possible is because of the water diversion project. And and they, the problem
Sponge City.
the problem that China's been having all these years is the southern part of China has always had a lot of water, excess water, and it's always flooding and stuff. But the northern part of China, there's never enough water, and this is why there's not many cities around Beijing. Because you know northwest you have the Gobi Desert, and it's very dry and arid. There's not enough water. This is why populations or cities have not been growing in around Beijing, especially around the north and northwest area. All that has changed now, Alex, because now they've built the south to north diversion water projects. There is billions and billions of tons of water being diverted from southern parts into the northern parts, and this allowed cities like Zhongnan to be created. Because if you see what they're doing in Zhongnan, it is the main artery for the southern to northern parts of the water diversion. And they're also building Zhongnan as like a sponge city. They're building all of these lakes around the city as well. They're building water conservation projects around it. Water is a very important commodity, and I think because of this southern to northern water diversion project, they will be building other cities around Beijing as well. I was speaking to one guy who actually used to work in the construction area, and he says that once Zhongnan is finished, and don't forget, Zhongnan is a long project. It's going to complete in 2029, I believe it's due for completion. But already people are obviously moving in, but 2029 is due for completion. And they are still working on this southern to northern part water diversion project. The main part is finished, but what they're building now are branches to link to different cities and things like that. They are still building that. And there is a western part of this project as well, still yet to be built for the western part of China. And once this water, infrastructure thing has been set up, you will see 2 or 3 more cities like Zhongnan popping up around Beijing. So once Zhongnan is ready and available, this will be like an example city, a modern smart city, how every single Chinese city should be like a sponge city, smart city. And then they will use that template to build 3 more. And apparently there's plans to build 3 more around Beijing.
Here we go.
Once
Sorry to
Zhongnan
interrupt.
is finished.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent, and our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. We delivered on energy bills and on cutting national insurance. And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Yep.
This morning, I met the chairman of the 1922
You heard it from me. Hours. I said hours.
We've agreed that there will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. This will ensure that we remain on a path to deliver our fiscal plans and maintain our country's economic stability and national security. I will remain as Prime Minister until a successor has been chosen.
Again.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Guys, I'm absolutely speechless on that one. I'm absolutely speechless on that one. The door is closed on number 10 Downing Street, and there you have it. Podium's been removed, and wow. I mean, what can I say? What
Whoever
can I
comes
say?
in, Alex, is gonna probably do the same job or even worse, because it's not the prime minister. It's not. It's basically the policies. As long if they don't change their policies, especially around Russia, Ukraine, China, even they'll. Things are gonna get worse, and we are not even heading to the worst part of the economy right now. I mean, we are just starting.
Yeah.
It's not even winter yet. Imagine what things are going to be like when it gets really cold around January. That's when shit really will hit the fan.
It's staggering. This is the third prime minister the United Kingdom has had in what, 6 months, right? Less than that? 6 months? Boris?
Third, but this is the fifth prime minister in 2 years. Fifth. So we started with David Cameron. He quit after Brexit, and then his replacement was a young lady. I can't remember her name now. But then she got replaced. She quit, and she got replaced by Boris. And now you have Liz Truss. So yeah, we have 5. Obviously, counting the person before David Cameron as well. So yeah, 5 in like 2 years. It's crazy. No, not 2 years. I mean, not 2 years. I mean, 5 years. 5 in 5 years.
I'm just without words here. I don't know where they're going with this. I mean, where are they going with this? I mean, who's next? Who's next?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's next? I mean, it's crazy.
I don't know who wants to take this job. I don't know who's brave enough to take it. Whoever will take it is basically gonna have to jump in the frying pan.
So she's staying on until a successor is found. Well, that's interesting. Okay, think. AJ, is this the Guinness World Record of short-lived PMs? How long was John Major in?
No, John Major was in for a long time. He was there for 8 years or something.
No.
This is the Guinness Book of Records for the shortest prime minister. Yeah, it is.
But how long was Major in for?
Major, I think he was in for 8 years.
No way.
Yeah, I think he was.
No.
Yeah,
Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let's see.
Let me Google it.
As PM?
Yeah, as PM. Yeah, John Major.
Or maybe I got him mixed up with someone else. Major. I think I've got him mixed up with someone else then. Anyway, maybe everyone can help us out here.
John Major was the longest, one of the longest, I think. I think you mean someone else. I think you meant there was another lady after David Cameron. She didn't last long.
No,
either.
You're not talking Theresa May, are you?
Yeah, Theresa May. Yeah, she lasted like just over a year or something, or maybe.
The prime minister for the total shortest period in office was George Canning, whose sole term lasted 119 days from April 12th. Okay, that's going all the way back into 1827. Here we go. Yeah, we got some. Okay, we got. Somebody's put a list up here. So 3. Okay, here we go. You guys will like this. Liz Truss has got it. 44 days. Number 1.
Of course.
They have disputed a couple of names. The Earl of Bath. That's in 1746. But let's just say so. Number 2 was George Canning, 119 days. Let's see. Any other notable names? We got to go deep down into the list for this. Gordon Brown, 2 years, 300. Gordon Brown, 2 years, 318 days. Theresa May lasted 3 years, 11 days.
Oh, okay.
Boris Johnson, 3 years, 44 days. Wow, Liz, 44. Get your Liz Truss 44 jerseys. Get them on. Put them on. Get in there.
She's not going to talk tough on China anymore, is she? I remember when before she came prime minister, she was being really tough on China. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna put China as a threat. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna have an Asian NATO. Blah blah blah."
We did see something interesting. When she was talking about this resignation, that um, someone just put up here on our chat. They called it the Zelensky curse.
Yep.
You know, I think there is like this here. What a circus! British politics is laughing stock. These clowns are getting hit by the Zelensky curse. I think there's something to be said about that, Nick. Thank you for making that comment. There's something to be said about this because you got to remember the UK marched into this, and every politician that has got his hands on this or her has got their hands on this or has been supporting this financially, this is not the time to be marching companies and countries into war and spending billions of dollars, especially when most of the collective West has come out of a pandemic with economies that have been butchered. I mean, no one wants to get into this, but AJ, how about the timing of that? You and I sharing the screen, and we said Liz has got ours, and look at that.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna hand this over to AJ. It's always a pleasure. I think we're gonna try to get a kind of like a pretty decent panel going in the next couple of days here. AJ will tell you about that. I don't know how much details he's going to go into it, but we talked about it before the show. It'd be interesting because also the CPC Congress is coming to an end here, and there could be some more very interesting things. But I'm going to hand this over to AJ to take you guys out. It's been quite a day. Wow, a lot of live reporting during the show, huh? And a fantastic turnout once again. Thank you so much. Me here, Alex at iChongqing, and of course, you guys know me from Reporterfy Media. You can see all the links below, just down there, guys. Just click down there. You can see all of AJ's channel. But as you guys know, I'm going to let AJ have the last word because he deserves the last word, and the music will come in and we will cue out, and we will not cut you guys off. We will let you guys chat amongst yourself because you guys obviously love keeping this chat group going. Okay, AJ, it's been a pleasure. Thanks from me and the team here at iChongqing. I'm going to hand over the rest of the show to you. Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just want to give my thanks in regards to all the moderators out there and all the listeners, everyone that's been contributing to the chat. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a very eventful live stream with Alex today, and obviously we were here first when it came to Liz's resigning as a prime minister. I did say she was going to be the next prime minister. I did say she was going to disaster, but I never thought she would last this long. I never thought she would last 44 days. I thought she would at least last until the general election. But yeah, I never thought she would be this much of a disaster. So some good news happening with the channel. A lot of we are getting our name out there in the industry. A lot of people are and I am kind of being I am starting to be more and more on the radar thanks to you guys. Thanks for your support. I got Angelo Giuliano joining me for live chat, me and Alex. So that could be happening in the next few days. So keep an eye out for that. He'll be with me, Alex, and Angelina Giuliano. Could have new atlas to us soon as well, and a few others. There's quite a few names. I'm not going to name all of them. But yeah, it's looking good, guys. We are getting our name out there. Live chats to us. Um, it probably wouldn't be possible if I had less than 20k subscribers. I think it helps when you have 27. You are more attractive as a live speaking member. And plus, we have been in the Duran, and we have been doing this regularly. So it kind of puts our name out there, which is good. And so yeah, will just grow and grow with your help, guys. I really appreciate it. So stick with us. Things are moving in the right way. Lots happening around the world. And yes, I just want to give my thanks and appreciation to everyone, each and every one of you. And I'll see you soon on the next one. Alex, do you want anything to say? Oh, is Alex gone? Maybe he's gone. But thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care for now.